You don't have to work harder to grow your law firm. You just have to think differently. Welcome to the Lawyer Millionaire, helping law firm owners scale profitably, escape the daily grind, and turn their firm into a wealth-building asset. You've built your firm for freedom, but somehow you've ended up working longer hours than ever. If you've ever felt trapped in a cycle of overwork, burnout, and reactive decision-making, you're not alone. Today, we're talking with mindset coach and lawyer Dina Cataldo about the shifts that can help you reclaim your time, reduce stress, and create a firm that serves you, not the other way around.
All right, Dina. You and I have worked with so many law firm owners and so many who are struggling to get their financial and personal lives and work lives all in alignment and balanced. One of the things that you love to talk about are these mindset shifts that need to happen. What is maybe the first mindset shift that law firm owners need to make to reach a place of alignment and balance?
I think the first thing that every law firm owner needs to know is that the way things are right now doesn't have to be that way forever. I get
Mm,
a lot of lawyers who think, well, this is the way it's always been done. I don't really see a way out of this. I feel overwhelmed. I don't know any other way except to work harder and longer hours to try to get things done in my business. And that's it. That's my only option. And I understand it because I have experienced that too as a criminal prosecutor, thinking that was the only way I could get more work done. And then
yep.
when I was really early on in my business, I thought the same thing. Well, I need to work harder. But what really need to happen is that I recognize that those are old patterns that may
Mhm.
have gotten me where I am. But if I'm going to take myself to a new level, if I'm going to change things in my life, I have to allow that there is a different way available to me. And then it's up to me to just find it.
I love that. Yes. It's more than just working harder. I've been there, Dina, right? I'm going to get up at
Yeah.
4 a.m. on Saturday and get the work done that I didn't get done on Friday, right? We've got to get out of that. What's the secret? How do we think differently beyond just working harder?
Yeah, it really starts a little shift at a time. I think a lot of times we believe that we've got to change everything in our life. We just got to turn everything upside down, and that's what's going to make a big change. And that can be really intimidating. It can feel really hard doing something like that because we're so entrenched in the way things
Mm,
have been for years. For me and for my clients, I like to find an easier way because I'm all about finding the ease in change. And when you choose one area of your life to start changing, other areas will change. I happen to focus on time management because I think
okay.
when you can manage and constrain your time to the most important tasks in your business, you will be able to do anything. It really is the domino that makes everything else possible, whether it's financial growth, whether it is being able to take on more clients or help them in a different way. If you want to expand your practice in a different direction, if you want to
Mm,
write a blog, if you want to do anything additional to the work you're already doing in your practice, being able to constrain your time using a calendar is it's like magic to me. And when I see my clients use it, it transforms their practices.
okay. Using a calendar to get organized when are we talking time blocking? What does this look
Well,
like?
yeah, so this is what's so fun because I remember when I first heard about this, like using a
Yeah.
calendar, I was like, yeah, I use a calendar. I use it for my hearings, I use it for my trials, I use it for my deadlines. I use a calendar.
Hmm.
It never occurred to me to think through my week ahead of time to think, okay, what needs to get done? How much time needs to be allocated to get it done? What do I need to be saying yes to this week and no to this week in order to create the week that I wanted? And I saw this, it wasn't even something that was on my radar my early years as a prosecutor because I was just like, yeah, I'm just working. Like if I jump into my work, I get it done. Like if I just work harder, I'm going to get it done. But
Yeah.
what I didn't see is I was really killing myself. In fact, when I was 29, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And that was right in the middle of my early trial years, where that's all I
Mm,
knew was how to work harder and try to prove that I belonged as a trial attorney and that I knew what I was doing.
yeah.
And when I did that and when I had that diagnosis, it was really a wake up call that I needed to do something differently. And one of the things that I came across over the years was how to manage my time. And I didn't start with a calendar. I started with how I managed my mornings. So if somebody's
Mm,
listening to this and they're kind of intimidated by this idea of how do I manage my time in the week, I want to offer that they can start with something as simple as how they're managing their time just in the morning period from when they wake up to when they go to their office. Like just start
okay.
small to do this.
So organizing, I've heard this, having a better start to the day can
Yeah.
really set you up for success.
Yeah.
How do you like to start your days, Dina?
So it has been, this has been like, it was kind of my gateway drug, so to speak, into
Yeah.
this whole time management space because I recognized that I hated my mornings. I was rushing around. I was hitting my snooze button like a dozen times. I'd be scrolling my phone in the morning. And I hated the way that I felt. I felt really tense. I felt rushed. I would jump into the shower. I'd run around. Sometimes I'd forget something at home, and I would go to the office in my car and I would already be revved up. I'd be annoyed at other drivers. And by the time I got to the office and I was about to do a hearing, I was just spaced, right? My brain was in 20 different places. And what I needed to do was, and what I wanted to do was change my morning and
Mm,
feel calm in the morning because I didn't see any reason for me to feel stressed first thing in the morning. It was ridiculous to me. So I said, all right, well, what do I want my mornings to look like? And I just started getting really intentional. I said, well, I would like to have 30 minutes of quiet time to myself. I'd like to have, 30 minutes to have my coffee and maybe, journal. And then I'd like to have 30 minutes to get prepped for the office and then 15 minutes to drive to the office, something like that. And I said, okay, well, what would I need to do differently to make that happen? Well, I'd need to make sure I get up when my alarm goes off. That would be step one for me. And so then I had to be like, well, how do I do that? Because I'm scrolling. And I said, well, let's put the phone in the kitchen. And when I put the phone in the kitchen, I had to get up. And then I was just like, all right, I'm up. Let's start my day. So we have to play these kinds of tricks with ourselves sometimes in order to get the ball rolling. But that was really transformational for me because I saw I had more control over my time than I thought. I had more
mm,
control over the way I led my day than I thought. And when I was calm in the morning, I was calm in my morning throughout the day. I wasn't, upset with other drivers. I was able to manage my mind and get to the office and recognize, like, oh, yeah, I've got everything planned because I had thought about it the day before. And those are things that you can have access to. They're small things that if you're not ready to jump into doing a calendar for your week, to just take these as small wins and show yourself what's possible so that you can see you do have more control over feeling stressed out, feeling overwhelmed and rushed and panicked even before your real day starts.
yeah. Yeah. What I'm hearing here is that structure is so important. And really setting a foundation for yourself to be successful throughout the rest of your day. Um, Before I had any kind of CRM or anything like that to help me manage things, I was just kind of, dive into the checklist, get as many things done as possible. I am definitely one of those people who likes to take my time in the morning. So I've become
Mhm.
a morning person. I think it's because I was a teacher. I taught eighth and ninth grade science for 5 years. So I was used to getting up at like 4:30 in the morning, going to the gym and getting my day started. So I kind of got used to that morning routine. But yeah, I'm with you. I love to just have some time to myself when no one else is awake yet, just
Yeah.
alone with my thoughts, just drink my coffee, read something, kind of reflect. I do find that that helps my day um, become a lot better. Uh, and Dina, as a follow-up, I want to ask you this. Are there, I think maybe we hear the word time blocking or calendar, and some of us are maybe thinking, there's more work. Oh no, I have to do
I
more
know,
work,
right?
right? But maybe
Mhm.
are there like certain times of the day when it's better to do different things? Like maybe we could think about when we're tackling certain tasks.
Oh, for sure. So everybody's a little bit different. I like to do my work in the morning. I feel like I have more focus, right? I can really
Okay.
think through different, if I'm writing a podcast, I can really think about, okay, what are the issues I want to make sure that I'm hitting, what topics do I want to talk about? That kind of work that requires focused work from my brain, it works best in the morning. And
Okay.
so if I have days during my week where I have mornings blocked off and say that's my content creation day or time, then it's easier for me to maintain my focus versus, having a schedule where I'm being pulled back and forth in meetings and so on. Whereas you might be different. Like maybe you're a night owl, right? Or maybe you do, your best focused work in the afternoon. Then that would be a time for you to say, all right, I'm going to block my real critical thinking work, the stuff that takes energy in your afternoons. So if you're listening to this, you're working on a file and your best times are the morning, you want to block off that time and keep it sacrosanct. So you're not having meetings with your assistant, you're not having meetings with clients, you're blocking that time off, and that is your time to work on the Jackson file, for instance. And if you aren't blocking that time off and you're moving back and forth between answering questions and answering emails and doing all those things, you're not going to have the same focus time you could have. So part of the
Mm,
benefit of time blocking, it doesn't even have to be, that detailed. It could be, okay, Monday mornings, I want to check my email for an hour. And then the next 2 hours, I want that to just be focus time on a file. And then in the afternoon, I'm going to take some client meetings.
mhm.
So that kind of understanding of how you want to run your day, how you work best, is some of the work that I do with lawyers, because we don't always stop to think about this. We don't always pause and say, well, what do I want my week to look like? We often act as if we're at the effect of circumstances. And yeah, stuff happens, right? Maybe you have a child who has a tantrum in the morning, and so you're going to be late to the office. Okay, yes. So, what can you do? What is within your control so that you could be the best throughout your day? And that might mean, okay, I know my child sometimes has tantrums in the morning, so I'm going to give myself a little bit of extra space in the morning to take care of that. And then I'm going to check, and then I'm going to do my other work.
Yeah, I love that. Thinking about how you want your week to look like, and
Yeah,
exercising some control over that. I mean, I think those of us who are in the professional services business, we sometimes feel like we need to be available to our clients 24/7.
right.
And that goes back to those mindset shifts, right? Like maybe we need to set some boundaries.
Yeah, I mean,
um,
when you think about it, it's always going to be a trade-off.
yeah.
So if you are saying yes to other people's priorities, you're saying no to your priorities. And because we don't take the time a lot of the times to set our own priorities and tell us what is important to us. Okay, what's important to me is that I have focus time, that I have time with my family, that I get 3 workouts in a week, that I am serving my clients to the best of my ability within the time frame that I am allotting for that work, right? That's what I want. Well, other people want other things. They want
Mm,
you 24/7. They want you when you're in the middle of a meal with your family. They want you to be checking your email constantly. And if you are saying yes to their desires, you're saying no to yours. And we're in the position of, and it's a beautiful position to be in, which is knowing ourselves and then training other people to understand this is how we operate.
Yeah. Yep. Training, setting those expectations.
Yeah.
It's so much like teaching. It just amazes me. When you're a teacher, you need to set expectations for your students. Here are the things that are acceptable, that aren't acceptable. And even if you have Fortune 500 clients, you have billionaire clients. I was talking with a law firm owner, and he was describing how he creates those boundaries for himself and his family. He has billionaire clients. You can't just say to a billionaire, expect a response from me within 48 hours. So, but what he has done is he said, okay, this week, this particular week, I'm going to be in the Hamptons, right?
Mhm.
And so that I'm telling you 3 months in advance. Don't bother me.
Right.
I there.
Right.
So it is possible, even if you have very high end clientele who expect you to be available. Actually, they will
Yeah.
respect you for having boundaries.
Yeah. And I think that that's something that lawyers often forget is that people don't drop you, like they don't leave you because you're not, answering their email in like a snap. It's about communication. It's
Yeah.
about them understanding, oh, this is what's going on. You're on a trip this week. You've given me time in advance. It comes back to that old saying, it's your emergency doesn't make it my emergency, right? I love that. I know I'm butchering that saying. But you want to serve them. So if there is an
Yeah.
emergency, maybe you will make yourself available. It doesn't mean you don't do that. But if you're not giving yourself permission to ask for what you want and give everybody else around you the expectation that this is how I operate, then you're never going to have a life that you want. And I was talking to somebody today. He's right now thinking about hiring another assistant in his firm. And he said, but it's just so hard to find somebody who knows computers. And I said, okay, tell me more, because this is not the problem.
Wait
But
a
I,
minute,
I
right?
knew that. But here's the thing. So he said, well, I end up doing all of this work. Like, I just need somebody who can figure out how to do this, that, and the other with their computer. And I said, okay, so you know how to do these things? Well, yes, I do. And then I end up explaining it to them. And I said, okay, do you have an SOP for that? He said, well, yes, I do. And I said, okay, well, then this is a simple solution. This is not a problem. He said, but I still end up explaining it to them. And I said, well, why do you do that? It's like,
Mm.
well, because I feel bad. And, it probably is going to take it much less time for me to just explain it to them,
So you're
And I said,
micromanaging.
you're micromanaging and you're training your people to
Yeah.
be helpless, right?
Hmm.
And when you're
Yep.
training people to be helpless in your firm, they're not going to be able to help you with the responsibility that you hired them to help you with in the first place. So
Yeah.
if you're doing the SOPs and you're not directing them to the SOPs, then you are not doing your job as a law firm owner to say, hey, this is my time. My time is valuable. This is my business building time. This is time that I could be doing client work at my hourly rate versus helping you fix a printer, right? So
Yeah.
these are the kinds of things that we really have to look out for because it can feel good to be needed, but it's really important if you're focused on your growth, if you're focused on your financial health of your business, to come back to, wait a minute, I have a system for this. I need to
Hmm.
train them to use it.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, it's so easy to want to jump in, fix things right away. Um, my brother would kill me if he hears this, but my brother is always asking me questions, and sometimes what I learned is that if I ignore his call and then call him back like 15 minutes later, he usually figures it out.
Right. I mean,
So,
that's usually what happens. Like,
right?
have you ever had this happen with clients? Like I'll talk to my clients and they'll say, oh yeah, my client wanted an immediate answer and I didn't answer their email right away. And I was really, I was trying to do the time blocking and answer emails only certain times during the day. And then by the
Yeah.
time I got back to them, the problem was solved.
There you go. Look at that. answering emails only during a certain time of the day. That is hard, Dina,
Mhm.
because
It is.
I find that, yeah, even like my work is still somewhat involved in my inbox. So I'll pull up my inbox because I need to send an email or something. And then before I know it, I'm getting distracted by the things that are at the top of the inbox. How do we manage that?
Oh my gosh, this was something that we've all dealt with it as lawyers, right? We've all had inboxes that keep filling up. And one of the
Hmm.
things our brain likes to tell us is that if we answer this right away, it'll make life easier. It'll be faster if I just answer this email right away. I won't have to answer it later. And this also applies to voicemails. A lot of times, and this used to be me, I stopped doing this after a while. I would think to myself, I hate answering voice messages, so I'm just going to pick up the phone every time it rings because I don't want to deal with voice messages. Big mistake. Big
Mm,
mistake. If you're doing that, we got to do some work here. But if you're in the inbox, you just have to be aware of the time you're spending in there and do it really intentionally. So let me give you an example of that. So today, as we're recording this, it's a Monday morning. So a lot of people, first thing Monday morning, we want to go into our inbox. And
right.
it's important that we do. Things happen over the weekend. Maybe we miss something, then, we want to look in there, make sure that everything is going according to plan, want to catch anything that's coming up this week. So it's very natural to designate 30 minutes, an hour to your inbox, cleaning it out, prioritizing. But here's where we get caught up. We think we have to respond to everything immediately.
Hmm.
Our brain is like, let's jump in, let's do this all, let's get it done, versus let's triage, let's prioritize. Because I guarantee you there were emails in that inbox that could get a response that said, hey, this is on my radar, I'll get back to you by Thursday,
Yeah.
right? Guarantee you there were emails like that in people's inboxes this morning. Or there were things that, oh, yes, that's actually due at the end of the day. Let's prioritize that. So
Hmm.
if we're not using a calendar, and this is where a calendar is really helpful, is we're not prioritizing properly, and instead we waste a lot of time. So instead of an hour in the inbox, we're in the inbox for 3 hours, and then we wonder where our
Yeah.
day's gone, and then
Yeah.
we don't get the case files done that we wanted to get done, and our whole day is blown. So being mindful of the time that you spend in your inbox and how you are thinking about cases. So this is where the mindset shift comes in, versus it's got to be done immediately and I got to do it all right now, to let me prioritize what needs to get prioritized. If this needs an immediate response, I will do that. If not, it's going to get pushed to the side. But doing it
Yeah.
intentionally.
Yeah. I have a theory that maybe it's kind of related to almost like a dopamine addiction.
Oh, for sure.
Like we see the new email come in and we're like, ooh, another email. It's like this constant like feedback mechanism. We're like addicted to our inboxes almost.
Oh, we definitely are. And I mean, this is the same phenomenon we see in social media. You figure
Hmm.
all of these companies, including, Outlook, Google, all these people who have the same type of resources, they are investing in resources to get our eyeballs on email. If you've noticed, if you look at emails, there are a lot more ads inside your emails now, right? Like you'll actually see promoted ads within emails. Same thing with social media. The longer that you're on there, the more you're getting dopamine hits. You'll stay on longer and maybe you'll buy more. And that's how they get those paid promotions within
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, right? So there's been billions of dollars spent to gain our attention. So if you're listening to this, don't feel bad. If you're addicted to email, you're addicted to social media,
You're
there have
right.
been people who have spent a lot of money to get your eyeballs on your computer, on your phone. So this does take discipline, even for me. Like I've been doing this for a very long time and I watch myself. And here's one of the gauges I use when I see that I've been on social media too long or checking my email too long, is I notice my anxiety level kind of goes up. I'll
Yeah.
just feel that in my body. The more that we get in tune with what it feels like to be calm, like I was talking about with the mornings, right? The
Yeah.
more we know what it feels like to be calm, the easier it will be to recognize those signals when we're feeling a little more anxious. I think most of us, I don't know about most of us, I'll speak for myself. When I was practicing law early on in my career, before I had these skills, I had this, I won't even call it a low level of anxiety. It was probably a high level of anxiety all the time. And
Hmm.
I thought that that was just the way things were supposed to be. I thought that was baseline. Oh, that's how everybody feels. But then I realized, no, I just don't know how to manage my my nervous system, because my
Mm.
nervous system was out of whack. It had a nervous system dysregulation, which a lot of us go through when we're in a high stress environment and we don't know how to manage ourselves within it.
Yeah. Yeah, that anxiety is real. Dina, one last question I want to go to here is, how do we turn it off? Right? You're laying in
What?
bed at 10 o'clock at night, you're thinking about that one client or what you need to do tomorrow. It's that anxiety. It's like always with you. You're at dinner, you're trying to enjoy time with your family, but in the back of your brain, you're thinking all the things I need to do. How do we turn it
I
off?
know. A calendar. And I keep coming back to the calendar because it is like the magic tool. So what happens when you are using a calendar is you can self-soothe, right? You're sleeping it and you're trying to go to sleep at night. It's like 10 at night and you're tossing and turning and you're thinking about the Thompson file and oh my gosh, I have so much to do tomorrow and I've got this email and that email I need to respond to, and oh my gosh, I forgot this other thing that I need to do. And so you can't even stay up because you can't even go to sleep because you're so worried you dropped the ball on something.
Hmm.
And when you have a calendar, you could say, "Oh wait, I made time for that. Don't have to worry about it. I've got time blocked for the Thompson file tomorrow. We're good. Oh, that deadline, I knew about that 2 weeks ago and I put it on my calendar and I made time for it so that I could work on that project." So even if the brain goes to, "Oh my gosh, I have so much to do," you can say, "Well, hold on. Like, you have it all managed. It's all
Hmm.
down on paper. Or on your computer, whatever you want to do." And you just go back to that and you remind yourself, it's taken care of. I got this. The problem that so many of us have is that we don't use a calendar. And so then if a lawyer's not using a calendar, it's so easy for us to worry that we're going to miss something, because chances are you will miss something if you don't have a calendar. Chances are you will have to stay up later than you thought you would because you didn't estimate how long it was going to take you to get that project done. And that
Yeah.
leads into so many problems that we can avoid: missing things, missing deadlines, being late, turning in late deadline items. Like, if we don't have our mind managed, if we don't have a calendar to help us manage our mind, it makes it a lot more difficult and it can be so much easier.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I don't have to think about this right now because I've scheduled time to think about this tomorrow.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And
I do it all the time. Yeah.
right. These things, a lot of us, these are the basics, but they're challenging for us as human beings to actually like set up, right? These are the foundations, right? The same thing happens in the world of personal finance. The idea of tracking how much I'm making and how much I'm spending, right? To some people, that just sounds like dread, like I do not want to do this. But these are the foundations that enable you to be successful. And that's why people need help. Law firm owners need people like us and people like you, Dina, to help them do these things. Um, Dina, in closing, what is one magical piece of advice you would like to impart on our audience coming into 2025? I know that you've made the calendar a big paramount priority for all of us. Is there anything else that we need to really think about?
Well, I think the most important thing that I get from my clients, they tell me this over and over again, that logically they knew it, but they didn't really put it into practice, is
Mm,
that what they want matters. Like, if you really think about it, so often what we look at in reality, in our actions, because it's going to tell us what we believe, our actions are going to show us what we believe. We put everybody else ahead of us, and that's telling them and ourselves that what everybody else wants matters more than what I want. So what I want to offer to lawyers listening is to say, well, what I want matters, and I am going to make that a priority. And that's what's going to make not just 2025, but every single year so much better for you.
Absolutely. Great wisdom. Thank you so much, Dina. And please, would you share with our audience where they can go if they would like to learn more about you?
Yeah, sure. Well, I have a podcast called Be a Better Lawyer, and I share a lot of different tips, whether you own a law practice or you're working for somebody else, like how to really make those mindset shifts for yourself, really start to manage your time, how to really think the way that you need to grow. And you can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn. And if you want to learn more about working with me, you can go to dinacataldo.com.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dina.
Thank you.
Dina, thank you so much for sharing your insights on mindset shifts and time mastery for law firm owners. If you want to learn more about Dina and her coaching for lawyers, check out her podcast, Be a Better Lawyer, or visit her website, dinacataldo.com. You can also connect with her on LinkedIn and Instagram. The links are in the show notes. One of the biggest takeaways from this conversation is that success isn't just about working harder, it's about working smarter. By making small shifts in how you manage your time and set boundaries, you can transform your law firm and your life. If your firm is consuming all of your time, it's not the wealth building asset it should be. The real goal is to create a firm that gives you financial freedom and the time to enjoy it. And that starts with taking control of your time and priorities. If you need help structuring your law firm for financial success, jump on a call with me, and I'll share with you my one-page strategic business plan for law firm owners. It's the first step in turning your practice into a profitable, scalable asset. Well, that's a wrap for this episode of The Lawyer Millionaire. Remember, your law firm should be an asset, not just a job. Take control, build wealth, and create the future you deserve. See you next time.